What if the news everyone wants to believe is also the one that demands the most caution? Late at night, across glowing screens and restless timelines, a headline began to spread with breathtaking speed. Wang and Shen Yue are planning to get married soon. The words alone were enough to stop time for millions who never truly let go of Meteor Garden. But before belief takes hold, before hope hardens into certainty, the story asks a far more important question. What is really happening, and why does this rumor feel powerful enough to shake an entire fandom awake?
Because this is not just about marriage.
It is about memory, longing, and a love story that never learned how to stay in the past. The moment the rumor surfaced, it did not arrive quietly. It arrived like a returning echo, instantly recognizable, instantly emotional. Names that have been linked for years, often against their will, were suddenly reunited in a sentence that promised permanence. Planning. Marriage.
Soon.
Words heavy with finality. Yet no official statement followed. No confirmation appeared. No agency spoke. And that is where the story truly begins. This story isn't over. Subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. We follow the moments and emotions of your favorite K-drama stars. Stay with us. Wang and Shen Yue are not just two celebrities. Together, they are a symbol frozen in time. Meteor Garden did not simply introduce them to the world. It bound their names together in a way that fame rarely allows to unravel. For many fans, they were not actors playing a couple. They were the embodiment of first love, conflict, forgiveness, and youth itself. So when rumors of marriage emerged, they did not feel random. They felt inevitable. The internet did what it always does. It searched for meaning. Old interviews were replayed. Past photos resurfaced. Moments once dismissed as coincidence were now re-examined with new urgency. A smile here, a pause there. Two separate lives suddenly mapped onto the same imagined future. But imagination is not evidence. What makes this moment so compelling is not what has been proven, but what has been preserved. Years after Meteor Garden, Wang and Shen Yue have walked distinctly separate paths. Different projects, different images, different chapters. And yet, the emotional connection fans feel toward them has never truly dissolved. Because stories that arrive at the right moment in our lives do not fade easily. In the absence of confirmation, speculation filled the silence. Some claimed insider knowledge. Others pointed to timing, suggesting that the quiet maturity both stars now display could signal readiness for something deeper. A few went further, weaving narratives of secret meetings and long-hidden bonds. But here's the truth that matters most. In the world of celebrity, silence does not always mean secrecy, and rumors do not always mean reality. What this moment reveals is not necessarily a wedding plan, but a collective desire. A desire for closure, or perhaps for continuation. Fans who grew up with Meteor Garden want to believe that love, once so vivid on screen, could find its way into real life. That belief is powerful, but it is also fragile. Wang has been vocal in the past about guarding his private life. Shen Yue, too, has chosen discretion over spectacle. If a marriage were truly being planned, it would not be announced through whispers and recycled posts. It would arrive with intention, clarity, and respect. Until then, what exists is a story about hope. Hope that the emotions once felt were not just fiction. Hope that time did not erase connection. Hope that some love stories get a second life beyond the script. And there is nothing wrong with that hope. But there is also responsibility. To distinguish between narrative and news. Between longing and fact. Between what we wish for and what has been confirmed. As of now, the truth remains unchanged. There is no verified announcement, no official confirmation, no public acknowledgement of marriage plans. What remains instead is something quieter, but just as telling. The enduring impact of a love story that refuses to be forgotten. If Wang and Shen Yue ever choose to share such news, it will not need rumor to carry it. The world will listen on its own. Until that day, this moment stands as a reminder of how deeply stories can root themselves in the human heart. Sometimes, the headline says more about us than it does about them. And perhaps that is the real revelation. Not that a wedding is being planned, but that years later, millions still care enough to believe it could be. And that belief, once awakened, does not retreat easily. Because this rumor did not rise from nowhere. It rose from years of emotional investment, from countless nights when Meteor Garden played in the background of people's lives, from a generation that learned what longing felt like through two faces on a screen. When fans read the words planning to get married soon, they were not reacting to news alone. They were reacting to a memory that never fully let go. What followed was not chaos, but yearning. People did not just ask if it was true. They asked what it would mean if it were. They imagined a story finally completing itself, a circle closing after years of unanswered questions. For many, it was not about celebrity romance. It was about the idea that something pure, once experienced, could survive time, distance, and growth. But time has a way of changing everything it touches. Dylan Wang today is not the same young man who first stepped into Dao Mingxi's shoes. Shen Yue today is not the same actress discovering Dong Shansai's quiet strength. They have evolved, shaped by success, pressure, and the realities of fame. Any real relationship, if it exists at all, would be between two people who are very different from who they once were. And that matters. Because love in reality is not frozen like a drama episode. It moves forward, or it moves on. It is not live on edited clips and nostalgic soundtracks. It lives in choices made away from the camera, in silence, in privacy. This is why the absence of confirmation is not disappointing. It is honest. It tells us that if there is anything real, it is being protected. And if there is nothing romantic at all, then what exists instead is still meaningful. A shared history that changed lives. A story that launched careers. A connection that does not need to become marriage to be significant. The danger of rumors like this is not that they excite people. It is that they can trap real individuals inside fictional expectations. Dylan Wang and Shen Yue do not owe the world a continuation of Meteor Garden. They do not owe a wedding, an explanation, or closure to a story that already gave so much. What they owe themselves is freedom. The freedom to love privately or not at all. The freedom to grow beyond roles that define their youth. And yet, the tenderness of the public reaction reveals something beautiful. That audiences still believe in love. That stories still matter. That connection, even imagined, can leave a lasting imprint. If this rumor fades, as many do, it will not erase what Meteor Garden meant. If one day real news arrives, it will stand on its own, without needing speculation to validate it. Until then, what remains is a quiet space between fact and feeling. A space filled with memory. So perhaps the real ending to this moment is not an announcement, but a pause. A collective breath where fans remember why they cared in the first place. Not because of marriage rumors, but because a story once made them feel something deeply and honestly. And that feeling has endured far longer than any headline ever could. Because some love stories do not need a wedding to be eternal. They already are, in the hearts of those who never forgot them.